Welcome to my session on SAP Cloud ALM news and roadmap from an implementation perspective. My name is Lisa Sanders, and I am the product manager for the SAP Cloud ALM for implementation. I started my career at SAP as a consultant, and mainly for architectures, hybrid landscapes, and for transitions. And during that time, I learned that, for example, for S/4HANA on-premise implementations, we have great tools available like Solution Manager. We have focused solutions available for that. And one of my experience as a consultant was also that I was able to join one of the very first S/4HANA cloud implementations. It was a co-innovation project. And I learned that at that point in time, we had not such an application lifecycle management guidance and implementation guidance available. And I got the chance to talk to the chief product owner of this area about my finding that I thought we need a product for that. And so he told me that there is a project going on, which is called the SAP Cloud Application Lifecycle Management. And I'm really proud and really happy to be here 1.5 years later and present to you our first increment of this product. So let me show you what's in for you today. This is the usual disclaimer I have to show to you. So it says that this presentation includes forward-looking statements, and we also include roadmap information. You need to take into consideration that we need to change our planning at any point in time without further notice. So in the next 1 hour, we will talk about an introduction of SAP Cloud ALM. So what is SAP Cloud ALM and how can you get it? And then we will take a look into cloud implementations itself. So what are best practices? How do we run cloud projects? And I will also give you a demo of the currently available functionalities of SAP Cloud ALM at the moment. And we will also give an outlook what will be available shortly and also in the long term in addition. And we also will have time for questions and answers at the end of this session. So who of you has already experience in implementing a cloud solution? Oh, great. I see 6 hands. Thank you. And who of you has already heard of SAP Cloud ALM? All right, even more. Thank you. So let me give you a short introduction. So what we also need to take into account for this presentation are the differences between cloud implementations and on-premise implementations. So when we do an on-premise implementation, we have full access to IMG, to customizing, to custom code, wherever. And usually you take into account that it's taking some time to implement that. And for cloud solutions, you try to stick to the standard to the maximum extent possible. And you want to go live in 12 to 30 weeks. And if you really want to achieve that, the go live after this small amount of weeks, there is no time to discuss project setup, project roles, the project methodology, and even there is no time for discussing application lifecycle management processes or setting up an application lifecycle management tool. And these facts, that was the motivation for us while we developed SAP Cloud ALM. So SAP Cloud ALM is a completely new cloud-based offering. It's designed for the intelligence suite. So for cloud-centric customers, but we also plan to support hybrid landscapes. And our goal is to support all components of the intelligence suite in the final stage. And this offering comes from the public cloud. So it's a public cloud offering. It's completely rethought, newly built on modern cloud technology. So it itself is a cloud-native product. and it's ready for immediate consumption. So it's immediately available, no configuration or installation is needed. And it is cost efficient for you as it is included in your maintenance contract. So what are the key features that we support in our SAP Cloud ALM for implementation? One of our design principles is that it should be really easy to consume and intuitive to handle. Yeah, so we do not plan to have weeks of trainings to use our tool, and it's instantaneously available, so directly available and ready to use. And it's always up to date, as it's a cloud-native solution we support, and we always ship the latest functionalities. We support the entire lifecycle of cloud solutions. So we support, on the one hand, the implementation, the build part, and also we support operations use cases. Is integrated with our implementation experience for cloud products, which is SAP Activate. SAP Activate gives the guidance for cloud implementations, and it's built for continuous delivery of cloud solutions. As cloud solutions come with mandatory upgrades that cannot be postponed, we also support this use case in our tool. And it's also planned to support monitoring use cases like integration, user, application, or business process monitoring. And like I said, one of the the best things is that it's already included in your maintenance contract. And when we take a look into the capabilities and the processes that Cloud ALM supports, we have to distinguish two major areas. So on the one hand, we have the implementation area where we support new implementation, maintenance, or extension projects. And we also have the run part where we support operations use cases. In the build area, we support the demand phase, for example, where you can consume best practice processes and collect requirements and perform fit to standard workshops. You can collect requirements and also manage extension requirements if you want in the build phase. And when it comes to testing, we want to support integration and acceptance testing as well, and also orchestrate your deployment to production. In the run phase, we want to support the monitoring of processes and integration scenarios. We want to support the diagnosis and correction of exceptions, anomalies, disruptions, and also optimizing your business processes. All of that is built in Cloud Platform, in Cloud Foundry. And when we take a look into the capabilities that we want to support, we see here that in the build area, we support process management and task management. That are the two capabilities that I will show you today in my demo. And in the next increment, we want to support test management and also deployment management use cases as well. In the operations area, we will support the capability of application monitoring, integration and user monitoring, business process monitoring, and also business process improvement. And our goal is that we support that these capabilities support all products within the intelligent suite. And our goal is also that we have a harmonized implementation experience for all the diverse products which are included in the intelligent suite. So before we go into the demo, we will also take a look into the best practice guidance that SAP delivers for cloud implementations. And here you see that we outlined what we think or what we believe are the major customer needs when implementing a cloud solution. And we believe that an application lifecycle management tool for cloud solutions should fulfill cloud qualities itself. So it should deliver more guidance. It should be pre-configured, ready to use, and it should be fully integrated into the solution. So what might project managers need to do in the beginning? As a project manager, you have to onboard your team. You have to hire experts and understand the roles that are needed for such a cloud implementation. That is supported within our tool, and I will show you how this is done in our demo. Then you also do a scoping. Yeah, the project manager needs to decide for which company, which business areas, which countries you want to do the implementation, and hand that then over to the business expert to conduct the fit to standard workshops to collect requirements, which are then handed over to the configuration expert, who then configures and implements that in the cloud solutions. For sure, everything needs to be tested before you want to go live. And then you might want to deploy that to production. And you see here that cloud-centric solutions require standardized, ready-to-use implementation tools. And this is why we say that our implementation tool should be from provisioning to being ready to use. It just needs 20 minutes. Like I said, so the methodology guidance for cloud implementations is given by SAP Activate. And we can take a look into one example, what SAP Activate foresees, for example, for an S/4HANA cloud implementation. So you see here the major activities, the major milestones that we recommend to conduct for a successful implementation. So you see here that everything begins in the discovery phase with a trial system. Yeah, you might to try some processes and see how is the usability, which processes are supported, and as soon as you do the buying decision, then also our implementation tool is available for you. It supports all phases from the prepare phase on until the run phase. You see here that in the prepare phase, it's foreseen to do the setup and also the enablement of your team. And in the explore phase, mainly the fit to standard workshops take place. And here it's important that it's not the fit gap workshops, it's really fit to standard workshops because they really try to be focused on the standard. And when these workshops are done, then we need an acceptance of the scope until we then hand the requirements over to the realize phase for the implementation and for the testing. Here you see that the configuration, migration, integration, testing, and also the extension of the solution takes place in the realize phase. Until then, and then there comes the deploy phase where the go live takes place. And you see here it's more like a happy day scenario that the quarterly upgrade hits our project timeline here in the run phase. However, this can take place depending when your project starts and ends. This upgrade can hit your project at any time. And how we handle this in our tool, you can, for example, explore tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. We have a hands-on session and where you can put your hands on our system and tool and explore how that looks and feel. And we also, let's take an even deeper look into the major phases, which is the prepare, the explore, and the realize phase. So this SAP Activate methodology gives guidance for the input of specific activities, the expected output. You get guidance for quality gates to pass from the one phase to the other. And we also get accelerators. Yeah, so we also get like templates, starter systems, recommendations to further accelerate such an implementation. And some of you might know the roadmap viewer, where tasks and deliverables are already provided. And we make all these tasks not only view-only, they are manageable within our tool. You can assign them to project members. You can track the realization progress, for example. You can see predecessors and successors. And everything is manageable within our Cloud ALM tool. So here you see that in the prepare phase, it's mainly about preparing, for example, the business-driven configuration questionnaires, that are some example accelerators for this phase. And as an input, you use these questionnaires, and as a recommended output, you should scope them and answer the questions to the questions in the questionnaire. And you see here that the completion of these questionnaires is one part of the Q-gate between the prepare and the explore phase to have a successful start of the next phase. You see here that in the explore phase, it's important to prepare the fit to standard workshops and to enable the customer, the project team, for that. So these fit to standard workshops are really tight, and you will be under lots of time pressure. Most of the projects are globally, and most of the experts have to fly to the location where the workshop takes place, and there are lots of processes that needs to be discussed and lots of business decision needs to be made during these workshops, so they need to be prepared very well. And during these fit to standard workshops, you review the process flows with your process owners, with the experts, and also with the consultant. You do a demonstration of the process in the starter system. You have lots of discussions, and as a result, it would be great if you document all these findings. So you have key business decision, you have a configuration backlog, roadmap items documented, and you need a confirmation of this scope for the next phase, for the realize phase. And you see here that as an input, for example, we recommend a fit to standard agenda, best practice process flows to have that ready, to have the questions to the questionnaires available. And as an output, it would be great to have a good process understanding, have key business decision made, and a configuration backlog as well. And as accelerator, for example, you see here that there is a starter system provided for the demonstrations for you. You have the best practice process flows, test scripts, a decision log, and so on. And I will show you now in our demo how this is supported by SAP Cloud ALM. And then the next phase is then the realize phase, where all these recommendations or all these requirements are then implemented in iterative way in sprints. We recommend to implement that in the realize phase. And you see here also the key project roles. So in our methodology, it's not only included what to do, when and how, it's also included who should do or execute these activities. And this is also built in within our tool. If you would like to learn more about SAP Activate methodology and implementation guidance, there is tomorrow another session, CAA 218, if you would like to join this session. And with that, I will start my demo. Yes, you can see that. So this is the tool. Like I said, so there is no configuration or installation needed. This is the view when your project lead gets this invitation to the tool, and this is what he or she sees first. You see here that the web assistant is active. So you see here that we have navigation guidance, we have UI element descriptions available, and we also have guided tours. So to get familiar with this tool, you can just use the web assistant to get some more information. So for example, we can see here in the guided tours, what does it mean to define the project lead? And here it says, the very first person invited to a project automatically receives the role of the project lead and of the administrator. However, if this person is not planning to perform the activities, someone else needs to be assigned to that role. So let's assume for today that I am the project lead. So we see here in our so-called overview page some tiles. We have one tile for the progress. You see here that the overall project progress currently is at 0 because we just started. You see here the phase we are currently in, the end of the phase, and also the remaining days. You see here the systems available. So you see here that our starter system for our S/4HANA Cloud implementation is already available, the quality system as well, this is really great, and the production system not yet, so we have to request it. And we also see here the task completeness for our project in this additional tile. Really interesting is the My Upcoming Tasks. So our tool is a task-driven environment. So depending on which role I have, the next upcoming tasks displayed here always depend on the tasks assigned to me or depending on the role I am assigned to. And as I was assigned as the project lead, I have those tasks here in my list. I have to define the implementation project name and I have to set milestones. Let's see what that is. Here we see that this is a task. We have here a description, we have a comment area, we also see the relations of a task. So we see here that, for example, this task has a successor, and we also see here the history in case an audit trail is required. We see that this task is assigned to me, and this task is due in the prepare phase. And the status is currently open. So what do I need to do? I have to give the project a name and set the milestones. Okay, so I can just open the application. So for more and more tasks, there is an URL available where you can directly jump into the application where you can execute the task. So you not only have the description, you also get the environment where you can do the task. So let's give it a try. So I already chosen a name. So it's our CAA 212 implementation project. We are currently in the prepare phase. And you see here that the milestones are the end of the prepare phase, end of the explore phase, end of realize phase, end of deploy phase, and the start of production. And this is not editable. So in cloud projects, there is not much time to discuss the project methodology. There is not much time to discuss the phases you want to go through. So this is prepared for you, pre-thought, pre-delivered. So the only thing you need to do is to define when does which phase ends. You pick a date for the end of this phase, and then you're already done. And this tool now, as we know which task needs to be done in which phase, all these tasks for the prepare phase inherit the due date October 8th. All the tasks for the explore phase get the due date 31st of October, for example. So that we have done. So we can put this task to done. Let's see what is the next task. And you see that this task now vanishes from my task list. I have to set the high-level project scope. What does that mean? I have to decide now for which company, for which country, and which business areas we want to do this implementation. So let's say this is for the headquarters in the US, and there we do, for example, finance and sales. And that's already the high-level scoping that we do. And there is also a detailed scoping, which is then based on the first high-level scoping. And this task is also done. And for sure, I also have to set up my team. I have to decide whom I want to invite to. I open the application here. And you see here that these roles are already pre-delivered. So it's fixed. So currently you do not have the chance to add any additional roles because it's not required. That are the major roles that are needed for a successful implementation. So you can invite your team members for these specific roles, and for sure a user can have multiple roles, for sure. But additional roles are, at this point in time not required. So here you just type in the email address of your business process expert, of your configuration expert, press assign, and then this person will receive an invitation to this implementation tool, and the person then will get the same view like I got it, just with the tasks for the business process expert, for example, or for the configuration expert. So this task is also done. And you can not only access these areas, the setup activities, from the overview page. We also have a left-hand navigation where you can always access here in the setup area the milestones, the scoping, or the team setup if you want to. So as I said, so the first high-level scoping has to be done. And after that, we see here that we recalculate which tasks are then needed based on the high-level scoping. So we need to do the detailed scoping, for example, for the area of finance, because we put the business area finance in our high-level scope. So we need to do the detailed scoping. And the one of you who have already some experience with our best practice processes, you can here see all these finance processes. You can view the name or also the number, if you are familiar with the nomenclature of the best practice processes. And here you can make the decision which processes are in scope and which processes are out of scope, and which still have to be decided, where you don't know yet. Let's say we are 75% done with the finance area because we have to double check some additional tasks, but the same we also do for sales. And then you see here pre-selected all the best practice sales processes. You can select the ones which are in scope, take a deeper look into the details if you want to. And you can also search for a specific process if you want to. For example, BD9 is one of my favorites. And we can say this task is also done. And that are, for a project lead, the major activities for a prepare phase. For sure, there are lots of more tasks for other project members. But let's assume that for now, the prepare phase is done. We can take a look here in the task list. We get here full list of all the tasks that needs to be done in an implementation project. You can filter by phase, by status. And we can, for example, now decide that all the tasks in the prepare phase, we are done. We also have a mass edit here. We can edit this selection and say all these tasks are done. And if we want to start the new phase now, we can set the project phase to explore phase. And the major activity in the explore phase are the fit to standard workshops. So let's see which guidance we get here. So let's see what we can find. So we see here, for example, in our task list, sales conduct the workshop. We see it's assigned to the configuration expert, and in case you have invited a configuration expert already, then the person's name would be here. We get a detailed description how this workshop should look like, and we can open the application. And we get here now, ready prepared for your workshop, the list of all the best practice processes that you have put in scope for your solution. So that is the scope for your Fit to Standard workshops. And then during the workshops, we have learned that it's really important to go through the best practice processes, discuss them with your process experts, and get business decisions, and do these fit to standard discussions. So you get here, as an accelerator for these workshops, a detailed process diagram, how this best practice process looks like. We see here the roles who execute which process step. And we see here on the right a description of this process. And we also see the executables. And we can directly jump from this tool into your S/4HANA starter system. Now you can directly log on and open the respective application that was currently discussed from a process view. You also get description for a specific process step, for example, or you not only get the process view, we also have an outline view for you prepared, where you get more details on system access, roles, master data, organizational data, which is, for example, required to configure this process according to your needs. And when you realize that this process needs some activities during the realize phase or needs some further discussion, you can create, for example, a note. This is like a comment. And save it. In case there is, for example, a final discussion or a final decision needed from someone else who could not attend the workshop, for example, or any open questions for later can be saved here. Or you can also collect, if you know that what you want to configure and what needs to be done, you can also create a so-called requirement. You see here that the flag requirement is already pre-selected. And you can also decide the topic of your requirement. You can decide if it's, for example, a configuration that is required, expert configuration, if it's more a security or master data topic. And we can select this one and say this is my requirement. And we can decide how we want to follow up with this requirement. So we can say that this is a task for the realize phase. As I said, our tool is a task-driven environment. So everything that needs to be done during an implementation is a task. So we create out of this requirement, if you set the follow-up task, we create out of this requirement a task for the realize phase, and your implementation expert will see it in the upcoming tasks list. If this is a follow-up topic with SAP, you can flag it as SAP. Or if it is a requirement, but you don't want to implement it now, you can say it's not planned yet. But we want to have it as a task, and we can save it here. And this you do for all the processes that you put in scope, so that in the end, you get a collection of requirements at the end of your explore phase. There is then, to pass the Q-gate for the realize phase, for sure you need a confirmation of the scope, which requirements you now really want to implement in the realize phase. So you might want to take a look into the list of all the requirements that have been collected in the explore phase. We see here that my note is in the list and my requirement. You can now do some editing in case there needs to be some adaptations or specification of this requirement. It's still editable. And we can now decide that we want to put this requirement into the scope of the realization phase. And we can select this one and generate a task. And this task creation is also meant to be an approval for really realizing this requirement in the realize phase. We confirm that, and we see here this tiny little icon. It says that this requirement or node has been turned into a task. And when we now go into the details, we see that it's no longer editable. So make sure that the specification of the requirement before you turn it into a task is final. And in the task list, we will see that now you see here that my task created out of a requirement appears in the task list, and you can assign it to your configuration expert. And whatever happens within our tool, it's reflected in the overview page. So amazing, we have already achieved 16% of the project progress. And you see that we are now in the explore phase. And you see here that the task completeness is selected by the company and per business area in detail. And we can also see here that these tiles are filled. We see here the process scoping for finance, how many processes are in scope, out of scope, or have to be decided, and that as well for the sales area. And you see here always the latest status of your collected requirements and notes. And if you want to learn and put your hands on this system yourself, I would like to invite you to join our hands-on session tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. I know it's very early, but I would really like to invite and welcome you there. And there you can also explore how we deal with a situation when an upgrade is hitting your project timeline and how we manage that. Yeah, this functionality already exists today. And in the final part of my presentation, I would also like to give you an outlook, which functionalities are planned for the next increment. So first of all, a short summary. So what you have just seen is our very, very first increment. It's the implementation portal for S/4HANA Cloud. And it was released earlier this year, and within this tool, you get a standardized and the guidance for your implementation process. It enables a content-driven implementation of S/4HANA Cloud based on SAP Activate, including the best practice processes. So it's pre-filled with roadmap content and pre-filled with process content. It is based or foreseen for supporting fit-to-standard workshops. You can onboard team members. You just have to know their email address and assign those project members. You can define the scope for your implementation project. So you can define a company, a business area. You can define the timelines for your project. And you can display and explore the best practice processes, and you can directly jump from the executables into your starter system. You can recommend comments or requirements, and as I said, we also deliver role-based task content. So we also recommend which project role should do which activity in your project. And in the overview page, you can monitor always the latest status of task completion. So what's upcoming next? So as we work incrementally, so our team and we are working on a cloud native product. So we work incrementally ourselves. So we make Cloud ALM available step by step. As you have seen, that was our first increment. It's the implementation portal for S/4HANA Cloud. And we intend to extend the product coverage in two ways. From a functional perspective, we will extend the scope. So for example, in the next increments, we plan to support test management use cases as well as change and deployment management use cases. And we also want to extend the product reach. So we will also support, for example, SuccessFactors implementations. We are currently working on a pilot with this product team. And for sure also end-to-end processes with the coverage of diverse products, so integrated scenarios of the intelligence suite like hire to retire. That's also something that we have in mind. And I also brought to you some mock-ups. So this is how it could, for example, look like. For one planned change and deployment management functionality, we plan to support the project milestone planning based on release data, because we have learned from customer interviews that it could be really challenging to find the best time to set your milestones and when to deploy and when to transport. So we want to support this use case by giving recommendations for deployment windows, access to tenant upgrade data so that you always have the latest information when the next upgrade and when which release is coming. We also want to support and give more guidance and integration to what's new viewer and also the release impact assessment tool, which calculates the differences between your activated scope and the upcoming release. And you will get a list of and an overview of upgrade-related tasks that needs to be done, that you also get a task guidance for managing such an upgrade during the implementation phase. And for example, in the test management area, we foresee something like a test case preparation based on the processes that you put into scope for your project, and also that you can prepare test cases based on the requirements that were collected, that they can be reused for test case creation, for manual and for automated test cases. And for sure, we also want to provide an overview on the test case execution status per process, per test case, including a history. And when we take a look at the overall SAP Cloud ALM roadmap, you see here that for now in 2019, we have process management and task management available, and we support quarterly releases of SAP S/4HANA Cloud. And we incrementally improve our product based on the feedback we got, for example, from our early adopter care program, which started this year. And this year we also will start with some integration monitoring use cases, alert management and operation, automation use cases. And we plan in the next years also increasing the application lifecycle management support for cloud products. So, for example, we are currently discussing or aligning with SuccessFactors how such an implementation portal can look like. We plan deployment management use cases, test management use cases, performance management and user monitoring, business process monitoring and improvement use cases. That's more in the operation area, and additional application monitoring use cases. And our overall goal is that we provide a harmonized implementation and operation experience for all cloud products in the intelligence suite. And for sure we want to support the full life cycle in a final stage for all SAP products. We follow a cloud-first approach, but for sure we want to support hybrid landscapes as well. And with that, we are through for today, and we can open the Q&A session. I think my colleague will give you a microphone that it's better to understand you.
You mentioned the outlook to support all SAP products, ultimately, both on-premise as well as cloud solutions. Do you see Cloud ALM ultimately being a replacement for SAP Solution Manager?
So yes, thank you for that question. That's a really important question. So today we do not see it as a substitute. It's a completely new ALM offering from the cloud for cloud products. Solution Manager and the Focus Solutions, that's a very mature product for on-premise focused landscapes and for hybrid landscapes as well. So you can see them as two offerings for application lifecycle management, but I would not call it a substitute.
Okay, thank you.
So it always depends on your landscape focus, and then it depends how your ALM offering looks like. And today our Cloud ALM is foreseen for cloud-centric customers.
Am I right in assuming that there's no coding changes as such, just all configuration? Is that correct?
For the cloud solution itself, you don't have any access to IMG or so in S/4HANA Cloud, for example, you have in-app extension possibilities and side-by-side extension possibilities with our SAP Cloud Platform, for example. But custom code like for on-premise is not foreseen for an S/4HANA Cloud implementation. And if you are, I can really recommend to join one of the S/4HANA Cloud implementation sessions. We have more detailed sessions on that if you are interested in detail what happens in which phase.
Thank you.
Are there any ideas that the customer is able to create own projects? For example, if he has other cloud solution, to use the Cloud ALM for all cloud solution he has in his portfolio, or is it only SAP-centric?
So for
the implementation project you showed, so is it a possibility that the customer creates his own implementation project for other cloud projects he wants to implement?
So we have the option to create manual tasks as well.
Yes.
So in case you want to adapt this roadmap or create your own tasks, you can do that as well.
So from scratch. So he could, someone could create a project from scratch, how I want to implement a cloud solution.
I understand your point. So for now, it's not. So you cannot get an empty implementation portal for something, for which product, whatever. That's currently not available. But we have something in mind, like bring your own methodology, but that's not something to share for now. As it's a really young product. We have lots of ideas and a huge backlog. And but for now, there is nothing to share on that topic.
Yes, I would like to ask that if you have that kind of situation like we have that, okay, we have an on-prem ERP, yes, but then basically we have those surrounding system, multiple SaaS applications, such like Concur, C4C, SuccessFactors, and one challenge has been that run or ARMS support, how they are working when they're concerning those SaaS applications. So is it so that basically Solution Manager, we could continue actually using on-prem and then use as a separate ALM application for those SaaS applications once you have coverage for C4C, SuccessFactors, Concur, etc.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and there's no any integration between Solution Manager and this new product. So basically you continue using those as two separate tools.
No, there is no integration at the moment. And like I say, so you need to decide what is the focus of your landscape and then decide what is the right ALM offering for you. And we are a young product. We started with S/4HANA Cloud. We are extending. We are discussing heavily with other products how we can leverage their content and how we can support their implementations. And yeah, I can just recommend to follow our roadmap and see when our scope and when our functional reach supports your use case. And until we have reached this state, I can just recommend that Solution Manager and the focused solutions it's a very mature product, and which supports also hybrid landscapes and hybrid implementations. All right. If there are maybe later some questions come up, just send me an email. I can show you my email address as well, so you know that on the Learning Hub you have some more information, and also in the community we have some interesting related sessions, like I already mentioned. Thank you.